Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. I thought I would jump into playing some Explorer. I was hoping after the Pioneer Pro Tour in Philadelphia that I'd be able to play more of the top decks from Pioneer, but it's actually turned out that a lot of them rely on cards that just aren't available on Arena, like the creativity combo, the core combo that was used at the Pro Tour is not available on Arena. There's a really cool Enigmatic Incarnation deck, but it makes use of Chain to the Rocks as a pretty important removal spell, which is also not available on Arena. There's a Green-White Auras deck that also uses a card that's not available on Arena. So I was looking for some decks as a starting point for Explorer that are from the Pioneer Pro Tour and just use cards that are on Arena. This is Autumn Burchett's Mardu Sacrifice deck that they played at the most recent Pro Tour. So it's if you've ever seen a red-black sack deck, it's pretty much what you would expect. It's Cat Oven, Claim the Firstborn, Mayhem Devil, and then Fable the Mirror Breaker, which, depending on when you last played Mardu Sac, may or may not have been a card that you were playing. Then the more innovative part of it, which is, I don't think that Autumn came up with this on their own, but this is something that hasn't been a part of every Mardu Sac deck, is including Showdown of the Skalds to give your deck more late game. And Showdown of the Skalds is just an incredibly powerful card, and once you're playing white, you can also play Rite of Oblivion, which is an excellent removal spell because it both exiles and it hits anything. The only drawback, of course, being that it's sorcery speed, which is not that desirable. But that's the core of the deck, is it's Mardu Sac splashing for Showdown of the Skalds. I'm playing Autumn's exact mana base, which looks a little strange to me, but I wanted to play with it some before I started making changes. The strange thing is that there's so many pathways, and there's also some pain lands, but we're not maxed out on shock lands, and we're not even playing that many fast lands. 3 Blackcleave Cliffs and 1 Concealed Courtyard. I think the most surprising thing, honestly, is the playing pain lands when you're not maxed out on shock lands. Because it's just so easy for you to wind up spending more life if you draw, only Caves of Koilos is your only black source of mana. You're going to deal so much more damage to yourself than 2. Moving on to the sideboard, I did make a slight change from Autumn's deck list. Autumn was playing 3 damping spheres. I always get confused whether it's dampening or damping. And those are specifically used in Pioneer to combat Lotus Field combo, which, although Lotus Field exists on Arena, all the elements that untap it don't really exist. So people don't really play the Lotus Field combo on Arena. There's no pour over the pages, I guess, is the most important missing piece. So you don't really need to play Damping Sphere. If you really, really hated people that are playing, the more fair versions of Lotus Field, I guess you could play Damping Sphere. But I didn't feel like I needed to do that. So instead I've added a Fatal Push and a Braid and a Fry just for a little bit more diversity of removal. Also, I suspect that this sideboard was not built with that much focus on beating Greasefang decks, because Greasefang decks were not that popular in Pioneer, but I do think they're probably a little bit more popular in Explorer. So I wanted a few more removal spells that could hit Greasefang. So that's how I've constructed my sideboard. This is a deck that's using Jegantha as a companion, which influences some of the card choices. Like, you might consider playing the new Braids in a Sacrifice deck, or maybe like a Chandra Planeswalker, but you lose Jegantha. And for people who didn't play through the companion era, it may seem like, well, why wouldn't I just ignore the companion and just build my deck with whatever cards I want? This companion doesn't seem that powerful. And the reality is that the companion, it costs you so little in decks that are close to being able to use it as the companion. Like, you make maybe slightly different card choices. You give up 1 sideboard slot, And you're getting this 5 mana 5/5 that also you have to pay 3 mana up front, and that just doesn't seem that good, but it does win you games. It wins you, you know, 1 or 2 games every 100 games you play. You're probably going to win because you can get this Jegantha. And that is a very big difference that you just can't get from an additional sideboard slot. An additional sideboard slot is nowhere near a few percentage points difference in the win rate in games for a deck. And depending on what card concessions you have to make, maybe it would come up, but for this deck it doesn't. So I think companioning Jegantha is very easy inclusion. So that's the deck. I'm going to run it through some matches and see how it does. This hand is not good enough. This hand is also not stellar, but I think it's keepable. I think I'm going to pitch a Fable. And this is one of those hands where I think I would prefer if the Caves of Koilos was a Godless Shrine. I think I'm very likely to take 2 damage from the caves, or more than 2 damage potentially. So this is probably a white weenie deck. I maybe could have held my Fatal Push for their 2-drop. I was about to say, I really hope it's not Thalia. Spoiler, it was Thalia. So assuming they have a functional hand, I'm going to concede very quickly. Yeah, I've seen enough. All right, removal spells are what we're looking for here. Meathook Massacre. So Meathook Massacre is a card that shuts off Jegantha, but it's worth it, I think, in this matchup. Fry is perfectly fine. Just 2 mana, kill something. I might not want a Braid. A Braid doesn't kill Adeline. I think I probably want Vanishing Verse. I think it's going to be better than Rite of Oblivion for me, probably. No, I definitely don't want Thoughtseize. Not that it's a disaster if you have Thoughtseize in your deck against a white weenie deck, but I think I have better options. You probably trim a Showdown. Is this a matchup where I should trim a cat, maybe? Or maybe trim a Deadly Dispute. I'm going to try trimming Deadly Dispute. This is the first time I'm playing this matchup, and it feels like I've got a wealth of options. When my deck is going to have this much removal in it, I don't really want to trim more Showdown in the Skalds, because I want to have some ways to get ahead once I've killed 2 or 3 other creatures. All right, this is a much better opening hand. So I've Cat Oven. I think I'm going to lead on the Oven in case they have Lay Down Arms in their deck, which they probably do. I think I got the name of that card right. Whatever the sorcery speed Swords to Plowshares is. It would be a disaster to have my turn 1 Cauldron Familiar get plowed. So if they don't have a way to kill this Cauldron Familiar, next turn this game is over. If they do have a way to kill it, then they get to keep playing. If it's just a Brutal Cathar, it's going to be real bad for them. They don't have any planes, so Ossification. Guess I should have waited till the ossification targets. To start doing this. But I was going to be willing to do that there, even if they can lay down arms, the Cauldron Familiar. So I have Vanishing Verses in my deck that can get rid of ossification. I think I will play a 4th white land, even though I'm about to discard to Fable. I've got 3 Showdowns left in my deck. So I certainly wanted to make a 4th land drop at some point this game. I think I'm willing to trade my Goblin off for a Mutavault. So here, I don't think I would attack with the Cauldron Familiar if I had it in play, so I'm just going to leave it in the graveyard to see if I draw into a Mayhem Devil this turn. I guess I kind of missed a point of damage. Given that I drew a Cauldron Familiar, I actually would have attacked with this other one. But I missed 1 point of damage to potentially get an extra ping if I find a Mayhem Devil. I think the upside on the ping is worth what I did. They could have Rest in Peace in their deck. That'd be bad for me, but I don't know that I can really do that much about it, so. I'm going to Fatal Push the Mutavault. It keeps them off of being able to start activating Castle Ardenvale. I also just am beginning to deal damage. Their life total's getting a little bit low. That's fine. Sometimes in spots like this, you want to be careful with the Cauldron Familiars to make sure they don't get exiled at instant speed. But usually, a mono white deck's not going to have a lot of copies of March of Otherworldly Light that would be able to do that. And also, when you have 2 Cauldron Familiars, it's just not even really that big of a deal. I'm going to play another land, and I'm going to use this blood to get rid of this Blightstep Pathway, probably. I think I'll just fry this thing. There's some appeal to, like, letting them put the trigger on the stack and then frying the Hopeful Initiate, and then I get to potentially attack. Wow, they're still attacking me. I guess it is just preventing me. Leaving it back prevents 1 point of damage a turn, which maybe they think isn't worth it. This is certainly not a race they're winning, but maybe they're hoping they can draw something and turn it around. Adeline's a good card. I think it's going to be the card that turns it around for them, though. I think they're dead on board. Claim the Adeline. You get hit for 7, is that right? This seems like a pretty good matchup for this Rakdos deck, assuming that I draw enough lands. Alright, I'm going to keep this. I've got Claim Oven, so I can kill something, and even though I have 5 lands, I can use Sokenzan. I don't know why I didn't play the Oven, I probably should have. I don't know what they're up to over there, though. Should I keep holding the Oven? I guess. They could have Skyclave Apparition in their deck. Wedding Announcement, that's a pretty good card against me. I'm going to play Showdown on Skalds next turn, I think. That way I'll get to make a land drop off of it. And, you know, potentially play a 1-mana card. There was a white weenie deck that did well at the Pioneer Championship. I didn't look at the mana base of it specifically. It feels like they have a lot of lands in their deck that aren't plains. The opponent, that is. Come on, something good. I'm going to push one of their creatures. Oh, I'm going to push the Mutavault. I still get a card off of the Wedding Announcement, and the Wedding Announcement is about to make the Adeline big enough to survive Meathook Massacre, which is kind of annoying. That's a pretty good draw. I didn't really think through how to use all my Showdown counters the best, I think. They can't get rid of this Mayhem Devil, though. It's not going to matter. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a card in their hand that gets rid of the Mayhem Devil. It was probably worth getting the Mayhem Devil up to 4 just because I get 2 food this way. Maybe having 2 food will matter in some way. I might need to draw a spell next turn. It would certainly be good to draw a spell next turn. Oh no. Wait, why didn't they take out the Cauldron Familiar? Probably kill them if I find another Mayhem Devil here. I still had used the Cauldron Familiar to bring back, or use a food to bring back the Cauldron Familiar. I should have played on land so I could have Deadly Disputed mid-combat to get another trigger from the Showdown and the Skalds. Not that it mattered. Okay. Seems like a pretty good hand. This is probably something approaching a mirror. They might not have white in their deck if they have cards like Welder and Epicure. They probably don't. I can claim the Bloodtithe Harvester and sack it at the Epicure, but I don't have any blood in play, so I won't kill the Epicure. I guess I'll just play my own Harvester, which probably they'll just trade Harvester for Harvester. Maybe they have a different play they can make. Vat of Rebirth. It doesn't seem like a very good card to play. And I get that it's probably easy to get the counters on it, but it costs 3 mana to bring a creature back from your graveyard. How good are these creatures in your graveyard going to be, you think? Maybe I should have a Red Sun's Twilight in my sideboard, or is there a better card than that? An Explorer. I know Shatterstorm's legal, so maybe Shatterstorm is better. Deadly Dispute, some way to sack the Goblin, presumably. Yeah. Hopefully we can do better than these lands. And I'm going to play Deadly Dispute at the end of their turn. I might dispute away the Familiar if they target it, but probably I'll dispute away the Blood. It's a cat of their own. Gonna wait one more turn to play the Showdown of the Skalds. I'll just play another Fable and Mirror Breaker. Give the Fable more time to kick in. This VAT is actually going to be pretty annoying because it means they're probably going to get to just have a Mayhem Devil in play for a big chunk of the game. Although I can get rid of it with Rite of Oblivion. I don't know. I don't know if this card was worth it for them. Like, it has been kind of good, but it's also been a card that they played on turn 3 that's sat around a lot. If it wasn't going to be good in this situation, it's really never going to be good. It was okay in this situation for sure. Sadly, they get 2 triggers. I think that I had to play Rite of Oblivion. I'm not sure if I wasn't supposed to just play it on the Vat of Rebirth. I didn't really want to give them another turn with having a Mayhem Devil, though. I like the no attack firsts. I think I'm close to a point where the Rite of Oblivions are just going to take over the game. Should I go after the Vat or the Reflection of Kiki Jiki? I think the Reflection of Kiki Jiki. think I'm not even going to play this Thoughtseize. Probably whatever they have in their hand isn't all that great. And the 2 life actually could wind up mattering a lot. Maybe I should play it. Nah, I think not. It would cost me this treasure, which the treasure might be relevant. We're going after him. That's what I thought was going to happen. The treasure might be relevant fodder for a Rite of Oblivion. Or a Deadly Dispute. I would assume they're using the Vat of Rebirth to bring something back. You know, hit me with a Den of the Bugbear. I accept. Do they? Costs 3 mana, so they can definitely afford to bring back a Bloodtithe Harvester, but they're choosing not to. I don't think I'm going to be attacking with Cauldron Familiar. Certainly not both on my turn, so I'll leave them in that one in the yard. So my choice is play a flashback Rite of Oblivion or play Deadly Dispute. And then probably play a regular cost Rite of Oblivion. I think I'm going to play one of these Deadly Disputes this turn. It's not really what I was hoping for. Plan is to block with these cats. Either the Den of the Bugbear or those 1/1s. This matchup, definitely want a Braid. Definitely want Meat Hook Massacres. Probably want some number of Fatal Pushes. I don't think I want these Thoughtseizes. Do I want Bloodtithe Harvester? It seems kind of weak to claim the Firstborn. Gotta be better off just with another Fatal Push. But I think a Braid is definitely better than Fatal Push because it can hit Witch's Oven. I think they lost that game basically because I drew a Witch's Oven and they didn't. And then this also can hit that Vat of Rebirth card if I need it to. So they still have Jegantha as a companion, meaning they do not have Meat Hook Massacre in their deck. It's important to note. The Vat, it's back. Be really nice if I draw a white land next turn so I could claim the Mayhem Devil. And then just Rite of Oblivion it at the vat. There's the white land. Do I want to get rid of any of these? I think the Fable of the Mirror Breaker is the card I'm least likely to use anytime soon. Yeah, I think I am going to actually pitch it. I'm going to dig for a Witch's Oven. So I can go claim, Deadly Dispute. That doesn't work. I can go claim, sack this to do nothing. Sack this. To get rid of the vat. So I'm very far ahead on resources if they don't find an oven soon or another Mayhem Devil, right? They have one card left in hand. Oh, it's Jegantha time. I'm up for Jegantha time. I don't even have access to double black, so I couldn't shock myself with the Sacred Foundry to leave Deadly Dispute up. I was thinking maybe it would be worth it, but then I realized I just have all red and red-white lands, so I don't even have the option to do that. They need a removal spell pretty bad here. They should have looted that Jegantha away to a blood token at the end of my last turn. There's no way the Jegantha's going to do anything against what I have in play. It's a companion battle. My opponent is on Yorion. Whereas I am on Jegantha. This is probably an enigmatic incarnation deck in some form. I'm going to be Deadly Disputing away this Cauldron Familiar. I want to make sure I have a play for next turn. So they have access to Leyline Binding right now. They have all 5 colors of mana. Well, all 5 kinds of lands, I guess, more accurately. Should I just play a Mayhem Devil? A lot of times with this deck, you don't want to just run out of Mayhem Devil for no reason, but I have 2 more in my hand, so I probably just want to spend my mana as efficiently as I can that turn. Yeah. And we get a Leyline Binding, that's fine. I think my hand's pretty bad against what they're doing. If they have a turn 4 or turn 5 enigmatic incarnation, I would assume I'm going to lose. Just going to try to get some pressure on them. Omen of the Forge. This is a possible substitute for Chain to the Rocks. I don't know if my opponent actually copied their deck from the Pioneer list. But if you're willing to play 2-mana removal instead of 1-mana removal, there certainly are options available. Yeah, this is pretty sad, this draw. I guess actually I should have just used a blood. Main deck Yorion, interesting. Not coming back from that. They're gonna Binding the Old Gods to kill this Mayhem Devil. This Mayhem Devil will. Oh, they're not even flickering the Leyline Binding. There's no reason to. Maybe if their hand's bad, I can get something going, because I am going to have Cat Oven Mayhem Devil for next turn online, which is, that deals damage pretty fast. I don't think I'm going to win a long game, so I need to just try to win a short game. I'm actually going to keep the blood, so I have another trigger with this Mayhem Devil. They're getting priority, but it might just be because the Omen of the Forge can be sacked to be scryed. Well, it's definitely one of the reasons they're getting priority. They don't necessarily have something they can do to me that would be bad here. Alright, they're digging for presumably another card that kills Mayhem Devil. Uh-oh, they left something on top. I do not like that. Ooh, I get a point from the Binding the Old Gods going away. I like that. Enigmatic Incarnation is going to be a problem. Sack another enchantment. I guess they would either have to sack the Leyline Binding, and then they can get a 7-drop, which if they have Titan of Industry in their deck, they're probably going to get that, and they're going to get rid of my Witch's Oven, would be my guess. that and gain 5 life, probably. If they didn't have this 5 life they were gaining that was on the stack, I would feel like I have a bit of a fighting shot. Should I bring this back now? I might want to bring it back and then attack. They're going to be at 8. I attack with everything. Getting through for 4 damage, and I Deadly Dispute away. Something that's 6 damage. 7 damage off of the treasure. I think I'm 1 damage short currently. So if I find another oven or a cat, I think I win. Another oven or a cat. I don't have any lands I can sack. There's a cat. Alright, I did not expect to win that game. That was a lot of damage. Does Vanishing Verse do anything against him? I guess it does something. It's certainly better than some of the cards that are in my deck, but I think I might have better sideboard cards than that. Like Rite of Oblivion, I think that this match is certainly slow enough that I just want Rite of Oblivion. I think I'm happy with all these other cards. Maybe not the Bloodtithe Harvesters, but it is nice just to have a 2-mana 3/2. Thoughtseize seems good, or great. I guess I want Kroxa. The thing about the non-targeted discard against their deck is their deck has so many kind of just garbagey cards in it that them having to discard the worst card from their hand is oftentimes not really going to do anything. I guess my choices are Kroxa, Go Blanks, or Vanishing Verse, or Fry, which we know Fry hits Yorion. I don't think my goal should be to kill the Yorion, though. It's also just Meathook Massacre, which having one of those in like my better hands actually does kind of do something. I think I'm just going to go for the discard, at least on the draw. Maybe when I'm on the play, I'll put in some of the non-discard cards. This is obviously not a great hand, but this is one of those hands where I feel like you can keep because of a turn 3 Fable, which their deck probably can't counter Fable. I didn't see Fires of Incarnation that game, but I would guess they have it in their deck. Probably getting Enigmatic Incarnation here. Oh, they're getting Fires, okay. I was right that they have Fires in their deck at least. It's a temporary lockdown. If I wanted to, I could sack my goblin to have a food briefly before the lockdown commences. I didn't really want to do that, though. I didn't want the food that badly. So they're going to be able to, at some point this game, get the Yorion into their hand and use it to flicker the lockdown. Well, they have Coma in their deck. That's kind of cool. I think I want access to white mana more than I want to have a Cauldron Familiar in play for next turn. Interesting. This isn't interesting, this is just good. Getting another 4 mana card. Oh, Knight of Autumn, I see. They have to get a 3 mana card. I don't know why I said 4 mana. That was actually kind of a big draw. Huh. I get to both kill the Knight of Autumn and get the Yorion out of their hand. So now they can incarnation a way that fires an invention for... Wait, I always forget how this card works. Second enchantment, right? They can get rid of the Fires of Invention to get a 5 mana creature, which could be bad for me. It's Elder Gargaroth, that'd be kind of miserable. That doesn't seem like the kind of card that would be all that likely to have in their deck. It's a 3 mana card, though. Probably Skyclave Apparition. Yep. Makes sense. I'm playing this Thoughtseize because it allows me to put the Crocs into play. I wasn't even going to cast the Cauldron Familiar that turn. I think it's better to just wait a turn or two to see if I happen to draw a Fable and Mirror Breaker. Wait. Why did they use their Otawara like that? I guess that makes sense. I don't think I'm winning either way. This definitely seems like they didn't stack things right, but it doesn't matter. So they had more creatures that game. Like Setessan Champion. Guy Naturalist. Would I be better off not having Go Blank in my deck and just having Claim the Firstborn? Try that instead. I need more than 1 land. Mildly annoying. This is another one of these games where these pain lands would have been so much better as just shock lands. Whoops. I was all set to discard something to the Fable and Mirror Breaker that's not in play anymore. I'm still in pretty good shape though. It's a Moon Blessed Cleric. Fair enough. They're going to get Fire's Invention, I bet. Or will it be Enigmatic Incarnation? It'll be Leyline Binding, interesting. Could have gone for a land at some point. I'm just saying. Do they not have a fourth land either? They don't. We're going aggro. 2-turn clock, that's where it's at. I'm assuming they don't have any sort of sweeper effect in their deck. When I play that way, that they probably are going to struggle to deal with more than one thing in a turn. It's going to be Knight of Autumn, gain 4 life. Knight of Autumn, gain 4 life. They'll die to Mayhem Devil because of, well, they'll die to Croxa triggering Mayhem Devil if they do that. That's Skyclave Apparition. Okay. They still die. It's a Mayhem Devil. Well, that was fun. Mardu Sac is always fun in small doses. Eventually you get to the point where it's kind of tedious playing Cat Oven over and over. But I had a good time with that deck. It seemed like a good deck, for sure. I'm not sure I really understood how to sideboard all that well. And I also think the lands could be better. I just don't think it makes very much sense to play Pain lands over Shock lands. Unless you're playing, you know, some card that needs to have, like, colorless mana, like Thought, whatever those Eldrazi are called. If you need the Eldrazi mana, sure, but I think that in general, you just don't save, you don't really actually save life over time. You lose more life by putting Pain lands in your deck than just playing all Shock lands. And it's also, I think it would be perfectly fine to play 1 or 2 more, like Concealed Courtyard, or there's no Inspiring Vantages in this deck. I could see playing 1 or 2 more of those deck lands, maybe. But I would definitely say if you're interested in trying this deck out, just this mix of lands is fine. Whatever mix of lands you have is really probably going to be fine. I would not use wild cards to craft this specific set of lands or to craft the Shock lands if what you have is the Pain lands. Any of these lands is going to be fine. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.